All right, so we are here with Steve Caton today, who is fantastic, just a fantastic person, has a fantastic business, and just a great person to talk to. So, if
Thanks,
you want
Nicole.
someone great to talk to him. But Steve is the founder and is it president or CEO of Alteza?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, all
yeah,
that.
all
Yeah,
that.
all that. And Alteza helps the small and medium sized businesses with part time sales or outsourced or fractional salespeople. So,
Yep.
why don't you explain it a little bit better than I just did and tell people what you really do at Alteza?
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. It's awesome to be hanging out with you, even though it's not face to face, like
I
live
know.
face to face. At least virtual is better than nothing. But thanks for having me. So yeah, Alteza. The way I describe it, Nicole, is I just say Alteza exists to help small businesses get larger by matching them up with experienced sales professionals who will close business for them and grow revenue in a really cost effective way because you're not hiring them full time; they're part time. And so, one of the biggest obstacles to especially smaller businesses where the founder is very involved in the sales process, one of the biggest obstacles to getting out so that they can work on their business instead of in it is the cost of experienced salespeople. Because at the end of the day, experienced salespeople are not affordable, and affordable salespeople are not necessarily experienced. So we're trying to solve that problem.
Okay. Yep, yep. Yeah, experienced is the key word there. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. And so this interview series is all about really what sets you apart. What is your differentiator in your business? So, what is Alteza's differentiator in the market? What really do you do for your clients that really sets you apart?
There's one word, Nicole, that I use all the time that really drives the point home, and that is closers. So our salespeople are closers. There's a lot of other people in the space that do different things around the sales process, whether that be sales strategy, build the playbooks, even prospecting, lead generation. We are specifically focused on closing. So what we love to do is take a marketing qualified lead, which you know all about, convert it to a sales qualified lead, and then close the business. So that's the thing that makes us. That's what sets us apart. Is we're closers.
I love that. Yes, working on the marketing side, there's so many people that do sales, quote unquote sales, and really, at the end of the day, they want you to do the close. They want you to sell it because you're the expert. But I know you guys utilize the expert, but you still do the close, and
Yeah,
that's a huge, huge thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what pays the bills, right? Is closing the deals.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's what everyone wants too. Someone that will go in and get that signature, get that first check, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. So, tell me, what do you want people in the industry to know or your clients to know about what you do?
Yeah, I would. You know what? That's a great question, and there's a lot of different ways we could go with that. So, in the interest of simplicity and time, I'd say there's a couple of things that we always want people to know, even before we work with them. And the first thing is that successful sales, sustainable sales, which is what we all want, is not a magic wand proposition. So too many times we think, oh, just go get this rock star salesperson, the guy or the gal that can sell ice cream to Eskimos and just turn them loose and off we go, right? Not so much. So talent is a big deal in the sales conversation. You need to have people who are good at what they do because, again, back to the word experienced, there is no substitute for that. However, really sustainable and predictable sales happens when sales is working in a context, or salespeople are working in the context of sales systems, sales processes, strategy for marketing and lead generation. So I call it sales orchestration, which is this dance that happens between marketing, sales, and the systems that support both of those things. All of that has to be in place to get the predictable, sustainable sales growth we're looking for. You can move the needle a little bit with some, shorter term solutions, but that's really not
Mhm.
what we're looking for. We're looking for something that's long-term and sustainable. So that's the first thing I'd say that people need to understand. And then the other thing is that there's very different kinds of salespeople out there. And so when we're thinking about what's the right fit for our business, there are some salespeople out there who are really good at just hunting and prospecting and going out and opening new doors with people that we don't know, and creating net new relationships for the business, right? Those
Mhm.
people are typically not great at then nurturing that prospect through a sales process and closing them. It's a different gift mix, right? And so the same is true going in reverse. The people who are really good at nurturing a prospect through the sales process and closing it aren't necessarily also good at the prospecting. So we have to remember as business owners that those are two unique gift sets and personalities. And so it's really hard, or it's not really a great idea to try to find someone who does both.
Yeah. Yeah. Very different mindsets too.
Yeah,
I mean,
very different.
it's just different. So,
Yeah.
and I've worked with Steve and Alteza, like they've done some amazing things. So, I really like what you do and how you do it. So if someone would be interested in working with you, how do you work with people?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different kinds of businesses that we work with, and you could just tell me how far in the weeds you want to go. I'll start high level.
Just
So
high level for now. Yeah.
high level. So for the business, let's say the business that's really building the sales infrastructure and hiring their very first salesperson or salespeople, we have a way to work with them where we are bringing in people who specialize in sales strategy and process. So think in terms of like a fractional VP of sales or a fractional chief revenue officer, where we bring them in to do the foundation. And then they tell us, okay, now you're ready for the salesperson. And then we plug the salespeople into the foundation or the infrastructure that they built. And that typically is, again, smaller business that's really expanding into bringing in their first sales people.
So you're not talking about a micro business or a consultant that's one person. You're talking about a small business that is actually thinking about possibly bringing on a full-time person to do
Yeah,
so.
exactly. We're talking about a business that is beginning to scale. Typically, the scenario, Nicole, is where that founder or the founders have been really heavily involved in the sales process, and they've been the closer, and they get to the point where it's like, okay, if we're going to scale this business, we can't be closing the business. So we've got other things we need to do to work on the business instead of in it. So we need to bring in that first salesperson. But there's a lot more complexity to bringing in, to going from 0 to 1 than we realize. So we can do that really well, and we love working with those businesses. And so there's a little bit more of a comprehensive turnkey process involved with that includes strategy and sales execution. And then for the larger businesses where they've got all that functioning, they've got a functioning sales team, systems, processes. The way we work with them is more about kind of airdropping, if you will, salespeople into their team to do one of three things is what we see. One would be to backfill positions, like if they lose people on the team and they don't want to rush to hire the next person, then we can sort of fill that gap for a season, would be one example. And then the second example would be if they want to do proof of concept on a new product or service, and they don't want to reposition existing salespeople into that vertical, then let's do it with Alteza first, make sure it's going to work, and then we can go staff up with full-time people. And then the third one would be opening a new territory, and same kind of a model. It's just instead of a new product or service, it's like, let's go open up the state of Texas, but let's do it with a part-time salesperson first to make sure we're going to get traction before we go all in on the six-figure salaries,
Yeah. And all the implementation that's going to be involved with bringing on a salesperson. Yeah. So it sounds like, every company out there who's like, gosh, I wish I just had someone to go do sales should be talking to you, at least having a conversation with you.
Yeah, I think have the conversation is key, because one of the things, Nicole, and you know me well enough to know that we're not we're about fit. So you and I've had a lot of conversation about who's the right fit and ideal client and all that sort of thing. And so not our model isn't for everybody. And sometimes going and hiring a salesperson is not the right move. But we'll flesh that out and help business owners know where do they need to go first.
Yeah. And it probably helps to make sure that you have leads coming in, correct?
Oh yeah, especially in our model, because again, we're closers, right? So if we're closers, then we're assuming that there's lead flow happening. If you don't have lead flow, then you probably need that other sales personality I was talking about before, which is doing that outbound prospecting piece.
Or maybe some marketing.
I would say marketing is always the way to go. Like and I'll just say this, in that total honesty, in my experience, both before Alteza and now during, the companies that really succeed with that predictable, sustainable sales growth that we were talking about are the ones that have a really robust marketing strategy that is just constantly, getting the brand out there, creating awareness, developing those marketing qualified leads. Because the marketing qualified leads that's the holy grail for salespeople. If they have marketing qualified leads, they can do the outreach and then pull some percentage of those into the sales process. And it's way easier than cold calling. I mean, Lord knows who wants to get a cold call, right? I mean, we don't. There are some people out there that still believe in it, and that's great. But especially in more complex sales processes. If you're selling a commodity, that's one thing. If you're selling something that's more service oriented or a little bit more complex, you don't want to do that. You need the marketing to soften the beaches, and then your closers can bring that deal home for you.
Yeah, it's huge, right?
Yep.
Marketing. I mean, it's not like I'm partial to marketing or anything, but I do believe that sales and marketing coming together is, 1 + 1 = 5. And, we've had plenty of conversations about that, and we can really get into that, but
yeah. Well, that's why we get along, because the first time we talked about it, we were like, yes, we agreed. Yeah. And I totally agree. I mean, I refer to that whole thing that should be happening between sales and marketing as a beautiful dance, right? It is. It should be a dance, and more specifically like a waltz, right? Because in a waltz, sometimes one person leads and then the other one follows, and then it can switch, right? And so in a waltz, sometimes marketing needs to take the lead, sometimes sales needs to take the lead, but we're still connected through the whole dance. Yeah.
And the end goal is still closing a sale, right?
That's right. At the end of the day, if we don't do that, what's the point?
Yeah. So if people want to talk to you about getting some sales closed and having someone come in here and be the expert closer, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, altezasolutions.com is our website. That's easy to find. And then I'm personally on LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn, but I am trying to eat my own dog food, Nicole. So I actually have fractional salespeople that work for me. So talking to me is going to quickly transition to talking to someone on our team, but I'm happy to connect with people on LinkedIn and then get them directed to the right person.
Perfect. I love it. Well, thank you, Steve, for joining today. And I hope everyone watching has had a very good time listening to Steve talk about, part-time fractional sales and why it really helps your business. So thanks for joining, and thanks for swinging by.
Thanks for having me, Nicole. It was fun.